Ahoy hoy. So I just got done with a month of free coaching in the Heroic Game Dev program. May happen again if you guys are interested in joining that. But I wanted to share something that's been, I already knew, but it's been highlighted for me over the last month, which is that video game design often feels like a very engineering kind of affair. You know, you got to know where to click and what to type and what to build and everything. And there's a lot of game design and very engineering type stuff. But underneath all the engineering, it's easy to lose track of the fact that you are building these things for a reason. And particularly if you're a solo indie developer, you're building these things not because you've been told to, but because you feel creative and you have something you want to share. And that ultimately was a lot of what we talked about in the group. It wasn't really how to build things. All 5 of my guys were pretty capable with what they were building. It was just the background issues of kind of what you're even fighting for, which is something I've brought up before on this channel. For instance, I had one guy who was building a game about ships fighting in space, and he wanted to share it, clearly, but at the same time there was something holding him back from sharing it, and that's clearly a sort of an emotional issue, right? That's not some technical engineering kind of a problem. It's a question of what do you want to release and why. Questions like this can easily be harder to solve than engineering problems in a way, because engineering problems at least have a solution that's kind of universal, but for the why are you building this question, you kind of have to dig deep inside into what you really want and what led you to make software in the first place. For instance, we talked about how he wanted to have consequences for the violence in his game, so the ships will shoot at each other, but then when characters die, it should have some sort of long-term effect. And we went all over all sorts of stuff about how character deaths are handled in friggin' Game of Thrones or cannon fodder and all sorts of things, because in a way that was what the questions really were, more than just the mechanical aspects of the ships and everything. And in a way, all games are mechanical expressions of values. So I find that thinking like this actually solves a lot of design questions as well. Like if you've got a question like, how should my health system in my game work? And for instance, I just did a bunch of stuff about changing your maximum health in Super Space Galaxy. You've got to think about what am I encouraging the player to do and why, basically. What kind of experience am I really trying to give? And often once you know that, once you've got the core priorities straight, everything else is a lot easier to move into place, and you can ask the right questions at least to achieve that. But engineering cannot tell you about what you should do. I mean, this is almost becoming a philosophy video. We're kind of talking Hume and the is-ought distinction. I guess, so it's about that, really. I'm not going to open that can of worms exactly, but just theorizing and engineering can tell you how to achieve your goals, but only introspection is going to tell you what goals you really want to achieve. I think let's let a few worms out of the can and say that. I think of utilitarianism for things like this as well, and it's kind of legendary for, obviously it's the philosophy where you want to get the greatest happiness of the greatest number, and I think the part of the impetus of that was wanting to end disagreements about what we ought to do and just narrow morality down to a matter of engineering, which is sort of comforting, but I don't think it can really be done, and what you end up with is just arbitrarily, following one principle and having to smuggle the rest of them out the door, I think. So it's tempting to try and reduce everything to efficiency. I think that's what that was the big appeal of utilitarianism, is that you can just measure the happiness now, and then it becomes a matter of engineering. We only need to look at who's scoring the most points, basically, and they win. It becomes almost like playing chess or something. But unfortunately, I think we're stuck with values as well, and having to think about what are we actually trying to achieve. And once you've got that, it really does solve a lot more things. And me and some of my clients have both had this problem where you've got a bunch of different design questions, but you realize that they're all related, and it's really hard to know where to begin. That's the kind of situation where thinking about your values fixes things. If you've got a fixed point, or thinking, oh yeah, I'd really like to have a weapon screen, like I just planned a weapon screen, if I'd really like to have that, you can use that as a set linchpin, and now you can organize other things around that. Anyway, this has been a bit of a rambly video, but the basic idea is, If you're not sure what to do, if you're struggling with programming, it may not be programming you're really struggling with. It may be your values and what you're really thinking of and why you're trying to program these things in the first place. And a great way to get in touch with that is to get more people to talk to about it. If you want to find some like-minded game devs, come join us in the Discord server. Anyway, that's more than enough from me today. I think, Runat.